In our first episode on cartoon history, we visited the Stone Age, the birthplace of human creativity. In today's video, we set the time machine for ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization that not only shaped human history, but shaped the very foundations of visual storytelling. My name is Vernon. Welcome to Toon School's History of Cartoons timeline, where we explore art history through the eyes of comic art. Before we get to Mesopotamia, I want to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Mostly because as a child, I didn't get how humanity managed to spread across the entire world if there were only one cradle of civilization. During the Stone Age, humans began living in larger communities, which over time became distinct cultures with shared traditions, technologies, and ways of life. Now, I managed to find or establish about 30 different cultures from the Upper Paleolithic era. I'm only showing 30 for the purpose of this exercise because most of them evolved into larger, newer, bigger cultures, but within the same areas. So roughly around 4000 BCE, several great civilizations emerged in fertile river valleys, and each evolved into complex societies with urban centers, agriculture, laws, and writing systems, although not all of them had writing systems. Here are the major early civilizations that shaped the ancient world. I tried to go for chronological order, but the dates are debated. So starting with ancient Mesopotamia, which we will be looking at today, then the Andean civilization, which was the first civilization in the Americas, the Indus Valley civilization, which was present-day Pakistan and northwest India, ancient Egypt, which was in Egypt and the Sudan, the Minoan civilization, which was on the island of Crete in Greece, the Huanghe civilization in China, the Mycenaean civilization, which was on Greece mainland, ancient Mesoamerica, which was the first civilization in North America, and then the Roman Empire, which is supposed to have a larger circle because, Julius Caesar had a vision and he saw it through. So diving into ancient Mesopotamia, which made its debut roughly around 3500 BCE. And you know what I forgot to mention in the previous slide, the Andean culture, Andean civilization, the second one I showed. For the purpose of today's exercise, I grouped it as an early civilization, an early center. But it was actually much more complicated than that, and it evolved over time in different phases. So, ancient Mesopotamia, often regarded as one of the world's earliest centers of civilization, although the Andean culture is giving it a run for its money. It was situated between the Tigris and Euphrates River in present-day Iraq, Kuwait, and Syria and Turkey, parts of Syria and Turkey. First of all, it's known for its monumental architecture known as ziggurats, although I'm not really going into architecture in this series. As far as the art that I'm going to show you, much of the surviving art was created for religious and political purposes, and the themes included deities, rulers, mythological creatures, war scenes, agriculture, and the ever-popular daily life. There are various wondrous ways in which the ancient Mesopotamians expressed themselves creatively, starting with sculpture. Now, much of their art served to glorify deities and rulers, and important figures were depicted larger than others. You'll see this in some of the examples I'm going to show you. This was known as the hieratic scale, where the rulers or the gods were depicted larger than the ordinary mere mortals. The Thor from Avengers just came to mind, depicted larger than the others. And then the figures had large eyes, large wide eyes, symbolizing alertness and devotion. I can't help it, but if I look at the last one in the row, I mean, there's alert and then there's creepy. Just say it. Next up, we have reliefs, really synonymous with the ancient Near East. These reliefs are sculptures carved into a flat background. So in my mind, the difference would be a sculpture you can walk around, where with a relief you would eventually walk into the wall. These reliefs were often placed at entrances as protective or symbolic guardians, or used to record detailed historical narratives like royal hunts, military victories, and religious rituals. Next up, we have the ever-popular mosaics. Mosaics were made by pressing thousands of small baked clay or stone cones into wet plaster. And the flat ends of these cones were painted and created large-scale decorative patterns across building surfaces. A very important piece of inlay mosaic is the standard of Ur. It was made by setting shell red limestone lapis lazuli into a natural tar onto a wooden box. It was a Sumerian artifact featuring scenes of war and peace, showcasing military victory, societal hierarchy, and royal power. Now, first I want to just address the size. You know, it often happens that we look at an artwork in a photograph and we think it's so large, and when you get to it, it's not. This one is 21 centimeters, roughly 8 inches by, what's that, 50 centimeters, which is about 19 inches. This is the size of the artwork. So, you know, you hear the standard of Ur and you think it's going to be humongous, and then you see it in real life and it's like, hello, buddy, look at you. So the standard of Ur is important for our purposes because it's the earliest surviving example of structured visual storytelling, as it is clearly separated into narrative bands, much like comic panels in sequential art. Next up, we have metalwork and jewelry. Now, these people were insanely creative. They demonstrated advanced craftsmanship in gold and silver. I mean, these things are just exquisite. And then they also had jewelry, very impressive, albeit probably a little bit heavy. The jewelry in these objects represented wealth, power, and social status. And then they used techniques like engraving and inlay. Engraving, of course, we saw already in the Stone Age in the previous video, and it paved the way towards printmaking. And then finally, pottery. These people had a lot of clay at their disposal, lots and lots of clay. So they used it to create geometrically designed pottery. I wanted to show this especially because of the patterns they used. It links to the Toon School video on doodling, where pattern making eventually results in a creative arsenal. Moving over to innovation. The ancient Mesopotamians gifted us with writing. Now, the invention of writing was a big deal. Without it, imagine how much information would have been lost or constantly and incorrectly repeated. Oh, imagine all the yapping. Invented between 34 and 3100 BCE, the writing system was known as cuneiform. It was achieved by scribes pressing marks into wet clay tablets using a reed stylus, a tool shaped like a small wedge. And cuneiform developed gradually over time, beginning with simple pictographs and then becoming more abstract, eventually representing ideas and sounds. And it was primarily used for recording economic transactions, agriculture, and administration, all the needs of a growing society. Now, writing also led to new tools of identification, like the cylinder seals, which were small carved objects used as signatures. They would roll the seal into the clay, much like a rubber stamp, but not. Writing also went on to be incorporated into many forms of visual art, like graphic design, cartooning, and sequential art. And it also made its way into various fine art movements. I've just gone blank. Like pop art, Art Nouveau, Art Deco, Plakkaatstill, Dada. And it also found a home in printmaking. I'm thinking when Albrecht Dürer printed the first woodblock with illustrations with it, and also in lithography in the Victorian era. And then, of course, you have typography featured in sculpture and ceramics. The application of writing on sculpture is beautifully depicted in the Code of Hammurabi, the longest legal text from the ancient Near East. The top of the stele features an image of King Hammurabi receiving the laws from Shamash, the Babylonian sun god and god of justice. And then underneath the relief is about 4,100 lines of cuneiform text. This artifact was created in the 1750s BCE and was rediscovered in 1901 in present-day Iran. And then we have the invention of the wheel, often regarded as humanity's most important invention. Invented roughly around 3500 BCE, when the Sumerian people inserted rotating axles into solid discs of wood. This, of course, led to advances in transport, war, and the mechanization of agriculture and craft industries. Evidence, of course, shows that it was created to serve as a potter's wheel. And even though this is being debated, it once again proves that artists rock. I'd love to think that there was an old Sumerian potter who was just so sick and tired of walking around the pot and kept hitting his inner thighs against the square table. And he thought, I need to come up with something better. And bam, the wheel. As with the episode on the Stone Age, I tried to find comics and cartoons inspired by ancient Mesopotamia, but admittedly without much success. On Lambics Comiclopedia, there's actually quite a few contemporary artists from the Middle East who's done beautiful comics and graphic novels, but they were all set in modern times. Right, so the first one we have is Asterix and the Black Gold. In this adventure, Asterix and Obelix travels to the Middle East to find an ingredient for Getafix's magic potion. I also found quite a few animes, but as far as I can make out, they all involve time travel, and I was more looking for something actually set in the era. That being said, one of these examples is Fate Grand Order, Absolute Demonic Front, Babylonia. Very long title. This is a Japanese fantasy television series that is based or adapted from a chapter from a role-playing game. It's nearly as long as the title. If you guys actually know, the gamers and the anime lovers out there, if you know of any cartoons, comics, games, anything set in ancient Mesopotamia or the ancient Near East, do drop a comment in the section below. As I was about to give up my search, I realized Bible stories, especially anything from the Old Testament. We always read about the Babylonians, the Sumerians, the Akkadians, the Hittites. And then I actually found many cartoons, animes, and animated series based on old Bible stories, like Noah's Ark and David and Goliath and Joseph. Now, although there are many, I want to focus on this publication. It's called the Action Bible, and it is a Bible completely illustrated in comic book style. A friend of mine actually gifted me an Action Bible one Christmas, and I couldn't have been more pleased. This publication was followed by the Action Bible Heroes and Villains. They were both illustrated by Sergio Cariello. I hope I got that right. He worked for Marvel and DC, so you can just imagine the caliber of illustrations in these Bibles. And this concludes our travels for today. Ancient Mesopotamia gave us remarkable art, groundbreaking inventions, and some of the earliest examples of structured visual storytelling. It truly helped shape the foundations of the world we live in today. Stay tuned for the next episode where we venture into the fascinating world of ancient Egypt. Go out, be great, live creatively in very many directions, and may the creative force be with you. In my first year of graphic design, we were fortunate enough to have a number of fine art subjects as well. Painting, sculpture, printmaking, ceramics, graphic design, and 4 different drawing subjects. Lots and lots of drawing. In one of my ceramics assignments, we had to make a vase inspired by ancient Mesopotamian art. So I presented my pre-sketches, 4 different ideas, and the lecturer said that if I executed this pot, he'd guarantee me 75% in the final exams. Now, if you ever studied art, you'll know that they are extremely stingy when it comes to giving marks. So 75% was equal to 3 buckets of gold and a blessing by the Pope. I spent 2 terms working on this pot, building 3 legs using a mold of my face. 4, if you count the original leg I used to build the mold. And when the finals came, I got 65%. I know, I get it, it's ceramics, it's not supposed to crack. But I was in my first year. So to that lecturer I wish to say, you know who you are. You know what you did. You owe me 10%.